read a nonfiction book that felt effortless, where every chapter pulled you in and you couldn't put the book down? Chances are that author mastered the art of weaving stories throughout their book. But how do you do this? How do you balance storytelling with the main message? This is Author Nation. I'm Melody Ann, and that's exactly what we're breaking down today. So you can craft a book that is not just informative, but unforgettable, a page turner. So number one, the first thing we want to talk about is weaving stories throughout your book in order to create a cohesive narrative. Think of your book as a tapestry. Each story is a thread. You can weave them together and they create a rich, engaging experience for the reader. So for example, stories can illustrate a key point. They can, so like real world examples can make things more tangible. They can deepen an emotional connection, especially with you or with the ideas. So making abstract become personal, and they can build continuity. You can return to a story later to show growth, to show resolution. Brené Brown, again, I know I've said this before, she's great at weaving personal stories throughout her books, making her research on vulnerability feel deeply relatable. Not that it wouldn't anyways, but she knows her audiences are often resistant. I'm not vulnerable, not me, I'm not vulnerable. And so when she weaves those personal stories, she gives people permission to admit that they too are vulnerable. So some things you can do. One, you can start a chapter, I should say, with a story, and then revisit it later to give new depth, to give the resolution. You can also use different stories to give different perspectives. I have an author who wrote a parenting book, and she often had 2 or 3 or 4 stories with different parents and children, and you could follow their path throughout. Also, avoid story overload. Your stories need to serve your main message, not distract from it. And how do we do that? So, second thing, you want to keep your stories concise and relevant. Brevity is your friend. So, have you ever read a book, the story drags on, you forget the point? We want to avoid that. In fact, did you know that there is such a thing as 6-word stories? If you haven't, go check out the link that I've put. This is a link to 10 quite famous 6-word stories, and it gives you the idea of how you can give a complete picture with only 6 words. But the golden rule is every story needs to have a clear purpose. So does it reinforce your argument? Does it provide a new perspective? Does it keep the reader engaged? Tie each story back to the message. So you want to directly connect it with your chapter's key ideas. Think of it like a bridge, right? Here's your idea. You go to a story. It leads back to the idea. And finally, let's talk about the role of pacing and reader engagement. So too many stories, reader gets lost. Too few, book is dry. So pace your stories. Make it feel like a conversation. And also vary story length, right? You can have like quick anecdotes. You can also have longer, more immersive stories. You don't want to be a one-hit wonder. You want to have a variety for your readers. And think about managing the emotional highs and lows, because even in books that treat the saddest subjects, there should be lightness. So if you have a really deep emotional story, give the reader breathing room by providing a lighter, more factual section, or maybe a lighter story next time. So when done right, weaving stories into your book makes your message more powerful, your book more engaging, and your impact more thorough. So it's not about cramming as many stories as possible, and it's not about not using stories and just giving facts. It's about picking the right ones and using them at the right time in the right way. And if you're not sure your stories are working or you need help refining them, join me for a 1 session where I'm going to take a look at your stories. I'll give an evaluation, and then we'll do some story coaching to make sure that your book is as engaging as possible. The link for that will be in the description. So let's work together to bring your stories to life. And until then, have a great day.